Hi everyone, and welcome to Melbourne Business School here at the University of Melbourne, and indeed welcome to our virtual campus, our temporary home, for our conversation today about how studying accounting and finance will set you up for the modern workplace of the future. I'm Chris Gartner, and I'm the Director of Academic Services here at the school, and I'm also your host for today's conversation. Before we go any further, it's customary for us to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet. And usually on our physical campus, that would be the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. But given the way that we're meeting today, I'd like to acknowledge all traditional owners wherever we're meeting from and pay our respects collectively to their leaders and elders past, present and emerging. While I talk about our physical campus, I'd just like to quickly give you a sense of what's happening at the moment for the university. And you may be aware that all of our classes are currently happening remotely, online. We're working on a plan as a university to return to campus with our main priority being the health and safety of all of our students, our staff and our wider community. So you can expect to hear about our phased approach to returning to campus in the weeks and months ahead. All right, on to our conversation today. At this time of year, we know that many students, whether they're local or international, are weighing up whether or not to apply for graduate study. And we definitely recognise that it's a really big decision. And that's why we're bringing together our program directors for two of our key accounting and finance degrees that we offer here at MBS for today's conversation. Before I introduce them, let me give you a quick overview of what we're aiming to do for you here today. So we'll touch on three broad things. We'll talk about how studies in accounting and finance will enhance a career across all industries and all sectors for our graduates. We'll also talk to you about the courses and their structures and also offer up some key admissions tips from our program directors. And we'll also touch on where studies in accounting and finance can lead more broadly, both now and into the future. I should point out that while we're talking today on the screen for you, we do have a dedicated team sitting behind the scenes that are available to chat with you. And if you've got a question that you'd like to put to the program directors or I, we'll get to some of those towards the end. So make sure you save up those questions and enter them into the chat box. Okay, with that housekeeping over, let me now introduce you to our program directors. Andrea Liu is the director of our Master of Management Finance program, and Warren McKeon is the director of our Master of Management Accounting and Finance program. Welcome to both of you. Andrea, we might start with you. Welcome. Can you tell us about your academic background and your involvement in the Masters of Management Finance?
Yeah, sure. My name is Andrea Liu, and I'm the program director for the Master of Management Finance program. I actually have a very diverse international background. I was born and raised in China. I lived in New Zealand for 10 years, and then I actually spent 5 years in the US to get a PhD degree in finance at Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University in Chicago. And this is my 6th year at the University of Melbourne. I love my job and love the city. And serving as the program director for the Master of Management Finance program, my role is to look after the academic side of the program. I look at everyone's application, and I will help the students to decide on what is the best combination of courses that they should be taking that will prepare them the best for their future career. And I will also be their go-to person if our students have any questions about the program. And for example, if they would like to plan a variation in their study plan that can better suit their background and career plans, I would be the person to talk to and to make this, to help to make approvals on process like that. That's a quick summary.
And Warren, you do something similar for your program, the Masters of Management Accounting and Finance. But are you happy to share with us a bit of your story working with the university?
Well, I've been with the University of Melbourne now for 12, 13 years. Prior to that, I was at RMIT University, and before that, I was in a public practice as a chartered accountant. I've been doing the program director role for about 4 or 5 years now, so I've become very familiar with the program structure and the type and the students and their problems and so on as they proceed through the course. Usually I get questions about things like accreditation with the professional bodies, and so I'm familiar with the sort of roles there. Sometimes students are not a little bit unsure about that particular procedure or what sort of things involved there, so I'm quite happy to talk and about any of those sort of issues, if not now, when people join the program. Thanks, Chris.
Great. Just as a side note, we've got 2 of our key programs, the Masters of Management Finance and the Masters of Management Accounting and Finance. Program directors represented here. We also deliver a Masters of Management Accounting, and certainly we can take some questions about that if people have it. And I think we'll hone in on Warren for some of those questions too, given his role in the accounting department here at MBS. Okay, let's start broad. I'm going to ask you both, but maybe Andrea first. Why are studies in accounting and finance so important in today's workplace?
I'll probably first take a finance perspective of that. I think the simple answer is really that finance is everywhere, because this is a subject that's about how we allocate financial resources, and financial resources are just so valuable in this world. And every person needs to know how to manage their financial resources. And what I mean by every person is you and me, but also every corporations and government agencies, basically everyone on a daily basis, right? So the knowledge and finance can really help you to make those decisions in a better way about allocation of financial resources. But I think what's the most important thing is really that the training in finance will give you a mindset that sort of help you to make good decisions in a world that's full of risk and uncertainty. I think that's one very important thing. And because of this, I think finance is not just the training to get into jobs that you normally think jobs are like quant jobs, number crunching jobs, or banking jobs, right? In fact, the finance jobs is the world of finance is everywhere that we see in the economy, right? It's much broader than just the banking or the quant number crunching jobs, right? Each company will need someone that understands finance to make better decisions to allocate their valuable resources. And this sort of importance is not just in the finance sector, which is the sector that help people to give people advice and help people to do that better, but also it's important in the real sector where you really can find a synergy between the finance skill and also other type of specialized skill, whether in business or in engineering, science, anything, right, to really achieve a better outcome for the business or for the company that you're working for.
Thanks, Andrea. Warren, what's your perspective from an accounting standpoint?
Okay, well, everything which Andrea said is true, but one of the things the beauty of this program is you've got a mixture of accounting and finance. Now, the numbers which you might use to do analysis work, you really need to understand where those numbers come from. And an understanding of the accounting processes and the nuances behind the numbers and how they might be put together, if you like, they are very important to understand that, because sometimes those accounting numbers need to be unpicked so that you can get a different version or a what if version or a better version of what the numbers might be telling you. So the two disciplines of accounting and finance really go very well together.
Thank you. I'm going to delve now a little bit more into some of the specific programs, and I'm going to start with you, Andrea, with a question that we get quite often here at MBS, particularly amongst prospective students. So most people know that at MBS we have both a Masters of Finance and a separate Masters of Management Finance. Can you explain for us the differences between those two programs?
This is a very good question. I actually teach in both both programs. I teach both in the Master of Management Finance program and in the Master of Finance program. So the Master of Management Finance program is the program that's sort of designed to provide students with a foundation in various business disciplines, and that at the same time builds a strong base of knowledge in the discipline of finance, okay? Whereas the Master of Finance program is designed to be a specialized degree that offers a broader and more comprehensive training in finance that is not feasible within an undergraduate degree. Okay, so I would like to talk, about the difference in two angles. One is from the perspective of the course structure. Okay, in terms of the course structure, you will see that in the Master of Management Finance program, all the students will have to complete 3 core subjects in finance. And then on top of that, you will have to choose at least another 3. You can choose more, but at least another 3 subjects in finance, in a long list of finance electives. But on top of that, you actually have to choose 4 more elective subjects that range from a long list of, subjects in other business disciplines. Okay, and the reason why we want, and also on top of that, you have to do another capstone course, which allows you to pull together all these knowledge that you have learned throughout the course to study the valuation of Australian listed company, okay? But if you think about the whole program, right, the idea is basically that we want you to have a solid knowledge in finance, but at the same time, this program is designed in a way that you are also having the flexibility to choose to pick from those business subjects that you have your interest in, or the business the business subjects that you have your expertise on, or even choosing some subject that's outside of business but has business implications that really goes together very well with your past experience, whether it's academic experience or industry experience. I like to put it in a way that the Master of Management Finance program really allows you to study finance, but also pulls together all those advantages, all those past experiences that you have, and also choose a path that's very suitable for the student, in a customized way. Okay, but whereas the Master of Finance program, on the other hand, is more of a specialized program. So in that program, pretty much all the subjects that you'd be taking would be in finance subjects. So there's a difference between these two. And then the second difference comes from the student background. So for the Master of Finance program, the students will be students that have got a business background, and particularly in a finance background. So they would have been taking quite a decent amount of finance undergrad courses before they come to the Master of Finance program. Whereas the Master of Management Finance program offers the flexibility essentially to be available to students with different backgrounds. You can come from a commerce background, even with a bit of finance background, but the program is going to have the structure that allows you to extend your knowledge in finance. But at the same time, if you come from a background that's in business, not in finance, or completely different outside of the business, this program also allows you to choose the right combination that will get you ready. So for those who come from outside business, non-commerce background, we have the 200 points option that essentially have this foundation component that will essentially get you ready up to speed to take on the other core subjects and business subjects. So I think that's the two main difference between the two programs.
Thank you. And we'll get on to some of the factors that people from a non-business background might want to consider and hear about later. But Warren, turning to you, looking at the Masters of Management Accounting and our Masters of Management Accounting and Finance, how do these programs differ?
Okay, well, the Master of Management in Accounting is really designed for people who haven't done very much accounting at all in any undergrad or any other studies. So effectively they come in fresh to accounting, and that gives them an opportunity to work through a solid accounting course with the choice of some electives they may use in finance or management or marketing or whatever they might choose to do as part of their overall program. the Master of Management Accounting and Finance is really designed for people who've got a reasonably good background in accounting already. And so they come with the more of the higher levels of accounting to get started with in the program, assuming they've done accounting beforehand, some accounting anyway. And then they, and also a base level of study in finance as a starting point. And then they pick up the core finance subjects as part of their finance stream. So the target market is designed so that it caters for a range of people interested in the accounting or the accounting and finance streams. So sometimes people try and they'd like to do the accounting and finance, but we might make a judgment they've already done too much finance, and so we might try and direct them towards the Master of Finance. So it's a little bit of a difficulty sometimes when some people in their undergraduate program have done a large slice of finance subjects, where we sort of say, no, because you've done too much finance for our program, we can direct you to the Master of Finance. Or, and if that's not, then otherwise there are other master's programs within the master's suite, which could be more as attractive. So that's really the basic difference.
Okay. And that's something that we do as part of the assessment process. I mean, we'll come to it a little bit later, but, you know, personal statements and looking at the whole of your academic history is part of what we do in order to help students, I guess, move in the directions and pick the program that is best suited to their needs. You both touched on my next question, so I might just ask if there's one piece of advice that you can offer to students from a non-business background in terms of undertaking master's level study in our school. What would that be? What would that be? Given, you know, you've touched on our course structures and the flexibility that it offers, and our willingness to sort of help steer people in the right directions through the application process. What's one piece of advice that you give to somebody from a non-business background?
Do you want me to start? Okay.
Yes,
I would say that someone who's coming through an undergrad program, they will have skills which they can apply in a master's program. And the skills would be being able to apply their own knowledge, their application, and their willingness or their motivation to actually learn a new subject. And that requires a little bit of hard work, but they've already got basic knowledge of understanding, application, and ability to read and learn. So it's really a matter of motivation. Thanks,
Lauren. Andrea?
Yes, I think like many of our students come from a non-business background. So our program, as I said, that is definitely designed in a way to be flexible enough that these students are, you know, can take this subject to continue to advance their knowledge in finance, right? But one thing I think I really want to tell the student who is thinking about doing finance coming from a non-commerce background is that I don't think this transition should be that you're ditching your previous experience and you're converting into finance, right? Because I really, as I said before, that I think in the real world there's real synergy between you know, different subjects plus with finance, right? So that's why I think that, you know, in terms of, you know, planning your you know, your future career in finance or using financial knowledge to in your area of study, in your area of your choice, your passive career, I think you should really combine these two things together and do your planning in that way, right? And then that's why I think that the Master of Management brings out the value of the Master Management Finance program. And then at the same time, that because we value these past experience, whether it's academic or industry experience so much, and that's why that, you know, we do have this foundation component, which allows the student with a non-commerce background to take the program as a 200-point program. So that additional 50 points essentially is going to cover all those, you know, foundation knowledge that's going to bring you up to speed so that you're ready to take on those challenges of those core finance subjects or accounting subjects or business subjects. So these core subjects have, for example, we got the accounting for decision making that covers you the basic knowledge on preparing and analyze financial reports. We got financial management that equips students with their necessary financial tools to do those core decision making that's faced by managers and investors. We got managerial economics that offers the basic knowledge in micro and macroeconomics. And we've also got quantitative method for business that basically prepares students well for the mathematical and statistical tools to do economic or financial analysis. So I think obviously if you come from a non-commerce background, you have to do a lot of hard work to do more study in finance, and particularly you have to study those foundation courses to get ready. But at the same time, that you should treasure your past experience as something that is very valuable, and hopefully that you can choose your course structure within the Master of Finance to really bring out the value of it.
Sure. Okay, good.
Chris,
thank you.
There's one thing I could add. There's one thing I could add there, and that is if students are entering a new business studies, they're surrounded by business news, and by immersing themselves in reading about businesses, what's going on in the world of business, listening to stock reports and so on, then there's a lot of motivation there to grasp a whole range of different things as a base to surround themselves as part of the new learning.
Thanks, Warren. Let's switch gears a little bit, and maybe let's go through to talk about the experience of being an MBS student studying these programs. So let's just fast forward through the admissions process, the offer process, and you are a fully fledged MBS student. What type of learning and teaching style do you think our students get in the classroom? Andrea, I might ask you first.
This is a great question, but very difficult to answer because we really have a very wide range of teaching style in the subject that's offered in the Master of Management suite. So when we design the subjects, we actually come from the angle of thinking about what are the key important skills that we expect our student to improve by taking this program, right? So that is why that there's a great diversity in terms of the teaching style in the subjects that's offered in the MM suite. So there are subjects that's better to be conducted in a lecture style, the traditional lecture style, but there are also subjects that takes place in the computer lab, for example, financial spreadsheeting. There's also the some subjects that take place in forms of like team analysis on case studies. For example, capstone course is one that's springing to my mind that follows that style. There's also subjects, I'm happy to talk more about this later on, the business practice subjects, which takes the form of a very unique form of actually going into real business and do learning that way, right? So there's really a very wide range, and then the reason why there's a wide range is because for each subject that you're teaching, it really depends on what you're trying to teach the student, what sort of skills that you want them to improve on. So the teaching style is designed that way, and also the different in styles is not just in terms of form of teaching. We also design our assessment in that way too. So if you're a student in the Master of Management Finance, I'm sure that's the case for accounting and finance as well, that you will see that your assessment is not just is sitting down an exam. It will take forms of like a group assignment. Sometimes you need to do presentations. But the whole idea is similar as why we want to have different styles of teaching is, I think, address on the different types of skill that we expect the student to improve.
Got you. Thanks, Andrea. Warren?
Yeah, well, I think the style of teaching, okay, I think basically you could say that there's a big emphasis on interaction. And for instance, when I take a class, quite often I walk up and down the aisle and I actually sit down to some students asking them a question so that then they don't feel intimidated speaking out in front of everybody else, but they've got to speak to me. So the idea is to try and get them to be involved with asking questions, answering questions, and also doing presentations. So it's not just relying on the lecture delivering material where students are sitting there as a sponge. It's a two-way process here. So I think that's probably a critical thing. And also the outside contributions coming from professionals and industry representatives too would be something which is very very informative for students.
Related to this, and it's a question that's come from our audience today. I'm going to ask it now, not at the end like I said I would, but the question is, we know that technology has absorbed in every aspect of our lives, including finance, accounting and management. How does MBS apply this issue in the way that we deliver teaching and learning? Andrea?
I think it comes in two ways. One is that in terms of our way of teaching, definitely we're, sometimes I have to say that I'm surprised by how fast the lecturers are and the academics are in terms of updating on the technology they use in class. So I've seen cases of, now you see in terms of, to get engagement and this is talking about even when we're on the campus, right? You see that in order to achieve engagement, we have those, in class, quiz, and that's, conducted on the app, and you get those surveys and poll of opinions and stuff like that. So, and also, so that's more on the teaching side, right? But in terms of the curriculum, right? Obviously, we realize that things are, change a lot by the technology. So in terms of like for finance particularly, right, we got, technology in terms of what tools you can use to do financial analysis, and these are definitely blended into the subject. So yes, that I have to say that because the technology is changing so much, is making teaching getting more and more challenging. But obviously this is a fun part of it, is that just like finance is constantly evolving. So
indeed, the whole world, yes, indeed. Warren?
Well, the students are often ahead of us in technology in lots of ways, but I think in terms of the learning experiences, because of technology changes, there's a growing emphasis on data analysis and understanding how to use the technology for learning and interpretation. So I think that's where we're heading.
Good. I've just been told we need to get a bit of a wriggle on. We're quickly running out of time, but the conversation's good, so let's keep going. The other form of the experience that we like to, I guess, encourage students to pay attention to is the co-curricular or the engagement opportunities that we offer. From your perspective, what are some of the standout opportunities that we offer to those studying at MBS? Warren?
Okay, I think in the past few years, all the time we've had business case challenges where groups of students, it's not part of an organised class, but they form together groups to compete against each other in solving a business challenge. And there are a series of playoffs, if you like, and then finally to a final. And those finalists quite often end up going overseas to compete in a worldwide situation. We also have a business practicum where, as a class, and that's pretty competitive to get into. And when we get back to normal, they're both locally situated and also globally situated. So those sort of experiences are really worthwhile. One is a formal class, that's the business practicum, and the other is the outside business-related, working in as a team to solve actual business cases which are put to us by industry.
I think that engagement and that opportunity to connect with the industry that our students get at MBS is probably a key defining feature. And you're right, Warren. It happens in the classroom or within subjects, but there's also a really strong co-curricular program that we run. So even in the last semester, we've had some significant industry partners like Atlassian and Xero and EY come onto Virtual Campus and engage with students, do some master classes and workshops. And there's some really significant opportunities that we source for our students. But our really vibrant and keen student clubs and societies, and we've got, I think, about 15 or so across the faculty from a range of different interests and angles, also get behind, and we work with them quite closely as well. Andrea, what's been your experience in terms of seeing some of your students engage with our industry partners?
Yeah, I just want to add a bit on the business practicum and global practicum subjects that Warren has talked about. So last year, I actually had the opportunity to serve as their academic supervisor for one of the team. So that team, you know, considered as an example of what we do in the business practicum team, right? So basically, what we did was that we would do those on-campus training, and then they will have to basically solve a problem. So the target industry partner that my team worked with was a superannuation firm in Melbourne, okay? And then basically target was, the task was to do the strategic planning for the superannuation company for the next 10 years. This is financial service provider. And I have to say that, you know, because I had the on-site experience with the students, right? They had 2 weeks on site to work in the company, and they were on a daily basis talking to people in the company. And at the end, you know, throughout our journey, they were also talking to the leadership team. At the end, they have to present to the board of directors. So it's really, I have to say that this is more than an internship in some way, right? Because this is, you know, in an internship, you could just be doing entry job for the whole time. Whereas here, because they value their you know, the partnership with the University of Melbourne, so really, you know, you get those, you know, sort of a high level engagement with the industry companies and their leadership. So I think that's a very valuable experience. And also the other thing
we've also had many instances where students that have done that in company practicum have managed to land a role with that organisation after they've graduated. So it's also an opportunity, not for necessarily guaranteed, but it's an opportunity that a lot of people have taken advantage of. Yeah,
definitely. And then on that note, the university also has an excellent career mentoring program, right? So you know, in addition to our formal curriculum, there's the program to assist students with their transition out of university to their job. So I think, you know, it's a very important pool of resources that student can utilize.
Looking to the second semester of this year, the mid-year intake, we're giving students the opportunity to undertake the foundation subjects that you spoke about earlier, Andrea, so I might get you to respond to this question. To undertake those foundation subjects as they are offered through our fully online graduate certificate of business. Did you maybe want to just explain how that is of benefit to students, particularly given the current circumstances?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, you know, university has worked very hard to make sure that, you know, the students can you know, start their learning and continue their learning with us at the University of Melbourne. So for those students who are in the 200-point program who need to take those foundation subjects in their first semester, so we can basically offer them 2 options to do it. The first option is to take that through their the graduate certificate of business program, and then the benefit of doing that is that the subjects in the graduate certificate of business is basically a fully online experience, right? So these subjects are designed to be online programs. So you have lectures, you have chat rooms and mini tests and exercises. So in this way that, you know, if you want to have an online experience, then the graduate certificate of business would be the way to do it. I think that will be a good way. That's, you know, definitely one way to consider, okay? Because it's designed to be in an online environment. But also at the same time that you have the opportunity to choose to do the foundation subjects within the suite, right? This is basically take the foundation subject, you know, in whatever way that university is going to be able to offer, right? Hopefully that will be able to come back to campus, but if not, the semester one, we have, successfully rolled out alternative way of delivering our high quality teaching.
Yes.
But I think it's making the second choice available to students. Obviously, it's going to, it's up to the student to decide which option works better, because I think everyone's situation is a bit different.
Indeed. And we're all adapting to the situation with the view of hopefully as quickly as we can returning to campus and continuing to deliver that, great on-campus experience that we love to do.
Absolutely.
I might direct the next question to you, Warren. So disciplines such as accounting and finance can have traditional post-study career paths into the large accounting firms or the banking industry and so forth. But how has that evolved in recent years, and what are some of the directions that you're seeing some of your students move in after they graduate?
Well, a lot of students want to come because we've got the accreditation issue with the professional bodies. Now, it needs to be stated that the master's programs don't give you any exemptions. The chartered accountants and the CPA are professional organisations, and they have their own course. So basically, what we do is they have certain subjects they want students to have completed within their program. Now, in the master's program, in the Master of Accounting and Finance, we can't fit all the subjects into their program, but because students in the Accounting and Finance program have got prerequisite subjects which they've studied in their undergraduate program, then that can be accepted by the professional bodies as satisfying that particular core basic knowledge that they need. So, to answer the question then, a lot of students then go on and do the CPA program or the chartered program. That requires employment or another course of study altogether, but it's just something which people can add to their Master of Management Accounting and Finance or Master of Management Accounting, and then they go on and get a CPA or something like that after that. So yes, a lot of students have an intention of doing that, because regardless of the change of technology with basic accounting skills or techniques, there's still a demand for high quality accounting people. And so that's a little bit of a myth that accounting's dying. The bookkeeping role certainly is, but the role of the accountant in interpreting results and so on is still very strong. Have I answered that question?
Yes, I think you have. I think you have very strongly. Andrea, what are you seeing from a finance perspective? Oops, I think Andrea might be muted.
Happen one time. Well, I think it sort of relates to what I was talking about before earlier, right? I think that people traditionally think that the finance jobs are a narrow set of jobs that's just in the finance sector, whereas, that's a misunderstanding, that finance is really everywhere, right? And I think that the importance of being able to use finance knowledge in the real sector is going to become more and more important, particularly with the improvement in technology, and also that people become more and more aware the value of information, value of data, right? So with that in mind, I think that the synergy between the financial knowledge and other knowledge is going to become more important. So having a program like the Master of Management Finance program that allowed students to customize their curriculum in order to bring out the best of them, I think is going to contribute something quite significantly in terms of getting them ready for the future jobs, really.
I want to get onto some audience questions, but before we do, let's get to the pointy end and let's talk applications and admissions. So Andrea, I might ask you, are there any scholarships or Commonwealth supported places available, and how do students apply for them?
Absolutely. So there are scholarships available and Commonwealth supported places. In fact, that the students do not need to file a separate application for that. The students are simply assessed on their academic merits, which is their, the GPAs and WAMs in their previous studies. So we have a range of scholarships that vary from like 25% and 50% for the duration of the program. So yeah, obviously there's scholarships available, but there's nothing you have to do about it to apply.
No, we try to make it as straightforward as possible. That's right.
Yes.
Just in terms of the official detail, let me tell everybody that applications can definitely be submitted directly to the university or for our international audience through one of the university's approved overseas representatives. And as always, I know a lot of people have found those details on our website. So you can have a look back there again. Our applications for mid-year entry are still open for international students. The closing date is the 12th of June. Our domestic students have a little bit longer until the 30th of June. Okay, final question from me, and it's about personal statements. And I know a lot of people talk a lot about personal statements as part of our application process. And they're a key aspect of assessing a potential student suitability for studying at MBS. We touched on it before. Speaking to two program directors, two people that look at a lot of applications and read a lot of personal statements, I'm sure the audience would be keen to get your sense of what you're looking for in a good personal statement. Warren?
Well, having read many of them over a period of time, applicants don't need to write a whole lot of detail about Melbourne University. That's something which we can take for granted. We don't need to know a lot about your early childhood, but what we are interested in, from my view, will be what your motivation is for doing the course at Melbourne or just doing a postgraduate study. And that could include that you have a career path in mind, or you're exploring a range of options within that to broaden your overall education before you narrow down to a particular stream of study.
Thanks, Warren. Andrea, your take?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the students have a common misunderstanding of thinking admission is about we choosing student and filtering and is thinking who's not suitable. But I think, at the end, I think what's important is that we want to figure out whether our program can add value to the students, right? So that's, to me, that's what I'm looking for in the personal statement, is that, whether you have thought seriously about your plan for the future and how is the Mass of Management Finance or accounting finance for Warren is going to help you to improve, because we don't want you to waste your time. Whether it's 1.5 years or 2 years time, right? We want to spend our effort and our time to make the best out of you, to make a better you that's ready for the future. So I think looking for something that indicate that you have thought thoroughly about what you want to do, and reaching a conclusion that after a lot about our program, this program is really going to shape you into where you want to be, then that's what we're looking for.
Great. Well, Andrea did mention that we don't like to waste people's time. And I've just been told we are coming to time. So look, if people still have questions, we're still happy to take them as a university, and you can channel those through our normal channels. The team behind the scenes will be collating questions that we haven't directly responded to and getting back to audience members. So look, can I thank everyone for joining us, Andrea and Warren, thank you in particular for joining us for the conversation. And we look forward to seeing you back on campus sometime soon. And we look forward to seeing a lot of members of the audience and their applications coming through, and hopefully welcoming them on campus sometime soon.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.